I don't have very many really dark days. I've had a few in my life. But a while back, I had one that was probably the deepest and the darkest that I've ever experienced in my life. And many of you have had those days. Some of you have them more often than others. Maybe there are some of you that have never had one, I don't know. But I've had a few. And this one was probably partly because of events that are going on in our lives. But as is most of these days that I have, they center around the point of my life, the purpose of my life. What have I accomplished? What am I doing? Where am I going? What value is there in what I am doing? And you know, when you're in those situations, intellectual arguments really don't really help very much. I mean, you can sit there and you could have 100 people tell you, yeah, you're a wonderful person and you've made a wonderful, and it doesn't really seem to help. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's so deep. You're down there so far that it's just really difficult to climb out of that place. And probably this one more than any other I can recall, I could identify with people that actually get so deep that they commit suicide. Now, I've never been tempted to do that. I've never even thought about that. I would never go that place. But I think I was at the place where I understood why somebody would get there. The other thing that was fascinating to me about this particular deep, dark place I was in is that I still felt very close to God. I just felt like God was really, really close to me, and my relationship to God was really good. And I've just felt so loved by Him in the past few months, particularly. And so that there was that sort of a juxtaposition of emotions that I felt this love and concern from God, and yet it just felt so useless and pointless and so dark. And I want to talk to you about how God brought me out of that. And it was kind of an unusual journey, but it was very, very helpful to me and has been helpful to me since. It began with an article that I was reading about painted lady butterflies. And unusual, but that was where it was. And you're probably all familiar with monarch butterflies. We have them here in all of North America, and the monarch butterfly makes about a 4,000-mile journey every year from the north from in Canada all the way down into either California or Mexico. There's two general locations they go to, and they can't get there in one lifetime, so it takes several generations for them to get to California. And so I was familiar with the monarch butterflies. This article was about the painted lady butterfly of Britain. And the painted lady butterfly of Britain, actually, I guess there are other places in Europe as well, but they were studying them in Britain. And they've always been puzzled because they can track them coming into the country in the early spring, but they never have been able to track them leaving, so they don't know what happens to them. They just sort of presume that they were there and they just laid eggs over the winter and then appeared again. But what they are actually able to develop a type of radar that they can track these tiny little butterflies, and they discover that they fly up to 3,000 feet high, and they catch wind currents, and they actually will go up and down based on to catch the right wind currents, and they travel in one season from the Arctic Circle to south of the Sahara Desert. And obviously that's not something that one generation can do, so it's multiple generations. And so this first generation will fly for a month, and then they stop, lay eggs on appropriate plants, and the babies are born, and then those hatch out, and somehow they know to keep going south. And so they continue on the journey, and they land somewhere in France or someplace, and they find the appropriate plants, lay eggs, their babies are born out, and they continue. And the last leap is clear across the Sahara Desert, where there aren't any plants, obviously, and they end up down around the equator in northern Africa, and then start the cycle back. And they discovered that there's about 6,500 butterflies that enter Britain in the spring and about 9,000 that leave in the fall. And they had no idea these 9,000 were leaving, but now they can track them. And I was reading that, and I started thinking about the amazing fact of creation, and that we have this incredible, I don't know what words to use, creation that we exist in that has all these tiny little components that all fit together. They all blend together in such an amazing, remarkable, incredible way. And so that led me to start wondering if there was more scriptures about creation and about God's creation. And so I started digging through the scriptures. And I want to read some of the things that I stumbled upon, and then share with you some of the insights that God showed me from these scriptures about the importance of humanity. So it all begins, obviously, in Genesis, and it says, I printed these all off so I wouldn't be flipping all over my Bible, but God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heaven, over the livestock, and over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the seas, over the birds of the heavens, over every living thing that moves on the earth." So we're pretty familiar with that. Listen to some of these other passages. They're just so interesting. "But ask the beasts," this is from Job, "ask the beasts, and they will teach you. The birds of the heavens, they will tell you, or the bushes of the earth, and they will teach you. The fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every living thing. Who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth and makes us wiser than the birds of the heavens?" Isn't that amazing? This passage of scripture. And let me read you a few more, and then I'll tell you what my conclusion in all this is. This is in Psalms. "The Lord is good to all, and his mercy is over all that he has made." This is in Proverbs. "The ants are a people not strong, yet they provide their food in the summer. The rock badgers are a people not mighty, yet they make their homes in the cliffs. The locusts have no king, yet all of them march in rank. The lizard you can take in your hand, yet it is in kings' palaces." And this one also in Psalms. "The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season. You open your hand, you satisfy the desire of every living thing." And what God began to show me is that he created this incredibly complex, elaborate thing that we have no idea how long it took, whether it was just in a moment or whether it took millions of years. It looks like it took a million years, but I guess you could have done it in a moment and made it look like millions of years. But nevertheless, it is such incredible detail, amazingly incredible detail. Do you know that there are more ants in a square acre in the Amazon jungle, rainforest, than there are humans on the planet? In 1 acre, there are more ants there than there are humans on the planet. You just think about those incredible details. I watched a little video about bird of paradise in New Guinea, and there's like 45 different varieties of bird of paradise on that one island, and they look so different from each other. Incredible diversity. And God said to me, he said, "Your being is important not in what you do, but the fact that you are part of this amazing thing that I have created. And you're the only one. You're the only one. There isn't another one on the planet like you." And so I made this incredibly diverse, complicated thing that I delight in all of the specific details. Now, those ants in the Amazon, they all look exactly the same. I mean, there's different varieties, but in one variety, they're all exactly the same. If you take a hive of ants and you take them apart, their DNA is all identical. It can be replicated. That's not true of humanity. There's not a single human on the planet that's ever looked or acted or has the same DNA as you or as me. We're unique. And God said that from the womb, he grew us, that he cultivated us, that he created us to be part of this amazing thing. And he said, it isn't in the doing that you are most important, it is in the being. And you are one of those things that I placed on this planet to glorify myself, to show my creativity, to show my diversity, to show my ability to make something that is so amazing and so incredible. And I begin to have hope. And he said, but there's also some value in the doing, and we have done some amazing things, even as a congregation. You think about all the places we've been around the planet. We were talking about Guatemala yesterday, and Costa Rica, and the Philippines. We helped build a church in China, and all the different projects that we've done, even in our community, being a part of starting Vine Place. And those things are important, but they're not what's most important. What's most important is that we are part of that creation that he talks about all through scriptures. And he said to me in these verses, he said, learn from the ants. Learn from creation. Learn from the flowers. Those things are teaching you about me. And when you walk through this world, don't just walk through it and ignore everything. Look around you, because everything in this creation is telling you about who I am, what my nature's like, what kind of being I truly am. I'm a being that loves creativity, that loves diversity, that loves things that you don't think go together, and I make them go together. And there's another part of this all. He said it also has a plan. And you are part of that plan. But it's my plan. It's not your plan. It's my plan. And I'm letting you be a part of that. And this is what it says. It says in Romans, the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. For creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons and daughters of God. So he said, not only are you important, but you are what creation is waiting for. They're waiting for you to emerge and to be everything that I want you to be. And I'm doing that. You're not doing that. I'm doing that. And it's possible that God can do that because of the power of Jesus Christ working through us, and because of the power of the Holy Spirit, and because of the fact that he can transform us. They become new creatures in him. So what do you do with all this? What do I do with all this? What did I do with all? What am I doing with all this? Well, I think it opened my eyes in a way. I mean, I've always enjoyed and appreciated nature. I just love it. But I think it opened my eyes in a way to start to look at nature and to look at creation, and not just to see it for it is, but to see God in it. I was watching some nature shows yesterday, and I remember hearing someone, I don't know who it was, years ago, saying they don't enjoy nature shows. And I was a little puzzled by that, but now I'm even more puzzled by that as I think about all the things that God shows us through other people's eyes about creation. And how can you not look at those and not see God? And that's what those passages I said, look at creation. Look at it and see me. So we have an opportunity to have our eyes opened as we move through this world, and not to take anything for granted, not to ignore things that we normally see, but to look at them and to see God in them. And then also to know that we are a part of the redemption that he's planning, and that we are central to it, that what he's going to do with humans is most important. And so there's this incredible, beautiful thing that humans are in the middle of, and that we are going to be the prime blossom in it all. And so that motivates us to do other things, maybe to work on recycling, or I don't know, to save the earth somehow, to appreciate it, and to not take everything that we have for granted, and to see God in all that, and to see ourselves as part of that. So I just felt awed and privileged to be part of God's creation at the end of that journey out of the darkness. And I realized that I didn't have to do anything, but I was privileged to do things. as God led me, as God motivated me, as God directed me, and simply as God loved me. And you all do as well. Every one of you are so important to that plan of God. Stand up with me and let me pronounce a blessing. May the God of creation give you eyes to see him in yourself when you look in the mirror, when you look at a dandelion, when you look at a weed, when you look at a bug, when anything in creation enters your circle, may you see God in that. And may you bless him and love him for placing you in it as well.